technology doesn't just impact on performance, but it impacts on how people are exposed and appreciate that performance. And that's what we mean by entertainment, I guess, or the role of spectators. And I want to bring out really 4 main points with regard to this. Spectators in form of entertainment are affected by technology because technology leads to fairer outcomes. Now, generally speaking, I'm sure we can see that as a positive thing, right? I'm thinking about things like television match officials in rugby. I'm thinking about video assistant referees in football. I'm thinking about Hawkeye in tennis, ultra edge in cricket. I think that's what it's called at the moment, at least. This leads to a fairer outcomes. Now, not everyone agrees with this, right? Some people believe this is a negative. So this could be a positive, but some people argue this is a negative. It takes away kind of the sort of the juiciness of sport, the contention, the disagreement. But I'll let you guys decide on that one in particular. Secondly, technology leads to 24/7 access for people who want to be entertained, who want to access it on social media, who want to engage with their favourite performers, who want to see documentaries, who want to watch stuff on Netflix, whatever it happens to be. This is an ongoing, non-stop access, not least because we've got that social media provision. I'm recording this in 2022, where Insta, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, I mean, they're absolutely prevalent, YouTube. So we've also got things like live streaming services, right? I'm thinking at the moment like DAZN would be a good example. And again, start to consider in your own mind whether this is a positive or a negative, or in what context this is a positive and a negative. We're also going to say that there's an impact with regard to better standards. Okay, so the actual level of performance, and we've looked at this in numerous aspects of our courses where in the modern era, better standards will lead to, I guess, more entertaining experience of taking part and watching sport and performance. But again, can I stress to you that you might consider this both a positive and a negative in different contexts. Now, it sounds very positive, right? Better standards, a better level of play, more spectacular, more powerful, faster, etc., etc. But some people believe that the traditional experience of those sports has been lost. So I'll allow you to reflect on that particular point. And finally, folks, on my 4th point, I mentioned they were going to be 4. I want to sort of get to the point where spectators have a better understanding. They get closer to the action. They get a better insight. Think about those ultra slow-mos. Think about, for example, instant replays. Think about, for example, even things around those fairer outcomes of Hawkeye, TMO, and VAR. They can understand the performances better through that technology. And that, of course, could be that's happening during a performance, but it could be in between performances, right, when they're accessing these sports online. Now, I do want to stress some negatives because I've said here that this could be both, and by the way, I should say that as well, could be both positive and negative, right? I mean, it in one sense is positive, you know more, you understand more, but people can get completely absorbed into the stuff. And I want to sort of give a bunch of negatives to this because I think it's important. There could be a loss of tradition through technology. So what do we mean by that? And that is the idea that technology actually detracts from the nature of sport, the purity from nature of sport, the purity of the sport in its traditional sense is lost. Now, some people just don't care about that, and that's an absolutely reasonable perspective, that's how you feel, but others do. We've got a potential negative here in the sense that we might experience delays. You know, think about our VAR as a good example. This slows sports down, and that sort of rhythm of sport is at least change, slows sports down. I managed to start the word sport with a P there. Thirdly, we might experience through technology cheating. And of course, this has a knock-on impact for spectators and the entertainment side of this, because we might be talking about the development of new design of PEDs, you know, lab-based, high science, high technology. A great example of this would be Bay Area Laboratory Corporation, or BALCO. I'd really encourage you to go and do a bit of research around that, and a guy called Victor Conte. Okay, and if you want to go and see what his sort of what his procedure was, he worked with some very, very famous athletes and cheats. I'm thinking about Shane Mosley, the boxer. I'm thinking about Marion Jones, amongst others, and these are really interesting. But their whole raison d'etre was to produce synthetic drugs which were undetectable, and of course that is a technological advancement which ultimately will have an impact on entertainment and sport. Now, finally, people may ultimately be less likely to attend live, because if of course you can access sport so easily on your device, on your TV, or whatever it happens to be, then the tendency to go to a ground and engage in live atmospheres and contribute to clubs that way may diminish, and that's something that, of course, I'd encourage you to find. And I'd also, with this one, this also is particularly relevant for minority sports, because it's also cross-sport, we could say here, that the more access you get to, let's say, men's football, the less likely you are to go and watch, let's say, a netball Super League game, because you're consumed and you've got that alternative. Hope that's useful.